Welcome to the Agent Upgrade Podcast with your hosts Jasmine Alan and Alan Corey, where we learn the strategies of top producing real estate agents so you have the tools to upgrade your own real estate career.
Great episode today. I'm excited for you to listen to what we've got in store with Rick Hamilton from RE/MAX. And he's been doing real estate for over 40 years. I'm 43, so he's been doing real estate mostly my life. I love talking to the old timers. I'm one of those respect your elders. We can learn from the people before us, the path that they've cut, and Rick really lays it out to us, and how he's had a CRM system from day one, and we get into the nitty gritty on that, and it's really shows the benefit of sort of collecting those email addresses and staying in touch, so you know whether it's an active phone number, active, email address, and really sort of being a lifetime real estate agent.
Yeah, I feel like he's just such a calming presence. And it just feels like whenever you hear his stories, it's just like everything is so methodical and thought through. There is none of this like, oh my God, my world is on fire. It's just, he's just so calm. And he's like, I've been there. I've done it. Everything is going to be fine.
Yes.
So,
I mean, we always have our different clients. And one of the big groups of clients, at least I've had, I'm sure everyone experienced it, is that software engineer who puts everything in a spreadsheet. Everything has to be sort of, this is the square foot, are we doing this? Well, Rick is that client, but he's a real estate agent. That's how he thinks. He's got a background in computer science, been, had a great career in software before becoming a realtor. And he's taken those skills to turn it into really like a machine, kind of thing. And it's really interesting to see how he approaches clients and the dance he does to get them to the closing table and the workflow. He created this great workflow that he presents to his clients so that there's no ambiguity. How do you say that word?
Yes, you got it.
I got it right. It was close enough. Like they know what they're in for. They know the roller coaster ride, the twists and the loops and turns that are coming, and that all leads to a great customer experience.
And we learned something really nice about a potential tweak for multiple offers that neither one of us knew about. So stay tuned.
That's the golden nugget. That's the golden nugget. Yes, listen to that. Yes, definitely. So let's get started with Rick Hamilton at RE/MAX. Rick, thank you for joining the Agent Upgrade Podcast today. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we're super excited to have you, Rick. We have followed your career, and we love having veteran real estate agents on our call so that we can kind of dissect and pick through some of the awesome things you've picked up over the years and done over the years, so that we can all learn from you. So. Tell us, let's start at the very beginning. I'm always all about the origin story. So tell us about you. Where do you come from and how did you get here?
Jasmine, thank you for asking about where I came from. Way back in about 1985, I started my own software company in Washington, D.C. I bought a condo about 12 blocks northwest of the White House in DuPont Circle. And I needed some more income, so I moved out of that condominium and I rented it out to a series of tenants over the years, and that kind of got me started in real estate. I liked what I was doing, and I learned some lessons along the way, one of which ended me up in court, and the arbitrator was the wife of the man who negotiated the arms treaty between the U.S. and Russia. And
it sounds like a spy story.
Sage advice was, can you just cut it 50-50 with these tenants? Yes, they did screw up. And I said, okay, I will. But, you learn along the way what not to do and what to look out for.
So you were a landlord in this situation?
Yes.
And then were you a realtor at the time?
No, I was not.
Okay, so you got started in real estate through real estate investing, which is how I got started in real estate as well. And did that spark sort of a passion for real estate now that you've been doing this for over 40 years at this point?
Right, exactly. And while I would eschew the rental business as a way to make money for me, in general, I find in my own subdivision, if I do property management for folks that decide they want to rent out their townhomes, it's pretty easy. I can walk up in my sweats and unclog somebody's garbage disposal, and that can lead to a $500,000 sale a few years thereafter. So I wouldn't say give up on managing rentals completely, but I try not to work with renters who are looking to find a rental unless it's $5,000 a month, and then those people obviously have means and they're going to be buying a bigger house down the road.
Right. So how did you turn being a landlord, negotiating with probably the best negotiator that the United States government has, into a real estate agent career?
Well, I did continue in high-tech sales throughout the 80s and the 90s. I sold mainframes to the Jimmy Carter White House. I sold long-haul fiber optics to the Pentagon. And what I found was dealing with people in real estate was a lot more fun than dealing with faceless bureaucrats in federal government. So I said, okay, I'll do high-tech one more time. When 9/11 happened, the entire economy of the U.S. kind of went downhill for a while. And I had started my last stint with a major CRM company called Siebel Software, who's been recently acquired by, or not recently, but was acquired by Oracle. And when that happened, my last high-tech company went away, and I said, okay, it's time. I'm going to do real estate full-time. And I just studied, got my license, and signed up with RE/MAX. And I never looked back.
Have you found any sort of skills that's transferred from your tech background into the real estate world at all?
Oh, absolutely. I have a double BS and it's not what that commonly means. I have a double BS in engineering and marketing. So combined with my software companies, I've learned how to negotiate technology. CRM is such an important practice for agents. I can't believe I still hear people using Excel spreadsheets to keep track of their clients. I've had a CRM system since 1985. I've got about 20,000 people in there.
And so for people listening who don't know what a CRM is, can you explain that to them?
Sure. Customer relationship management. It's a way to keep track of all of your customers and all of your prospects and send messages to them, emails, drip campaigns, and so forth.
What CRM do you currently use right now, or would you recommend for someone who might be not set up yet with a CRM? Do you have any sort of advice?
Sure. Yeah. There are some very widely recognized CRMs like Top Producer. Most brokerages have a CRM system, and Booge is a CRM system, for example, provided by RE/MAX, and Boomtown is a CRM system on steroids that costs major dollars, but I'm told that it has some pretty major benefits.
Yeah, I've tried out over my years Boomtown, Top Producer, Contactually, every CRM. Just like when you evaluate any software, they all have their different pros and cons and price points. But
which one are you on now?
I am on. I basically custom built one through Monday.com, which is sort of a new sort of platform where you can kind of really customize it to fit the one that you have.
Monday.com.
Monday, yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
And yeah, I'm new to it. I'm maybe a weekend, so yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah.
I think that they say that the best CRM is the one that you use consistently,
right?
right?
At the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Pick one and stick with it.
And when I was selling CRM, people would often say, well, we need to evaluate all these different CRM systems. And I said, well, evaluation is good, but while you're evaluating, just try one.
Yeah.
Just try one. And if you end up not liking it, you can always switch to another that you found, but get started now.
And is this, I know you've sort of created a workflow system. Is this tied into your, like a funnel that's tied into your CRM, or what's your process around that?
I have an MBA in information systems, so I tend to look at a process and understand what all the points are in the process. And listing a home or buying a home is a process. And if you sit down and carefully think about what are the major steps that are involved, it's 40 to 60 steps where one can go wrong. And, over 40 years, my clients and or I have made mistakes on almost every step in that process. So I said a couple years ago, I'm going to create a flowchart, and I'm going to show the steps. And when I get a new client, I'm going to expose them to this flowchart so they understand here's where we are, here's where we're going to end up, and the steps in between. But I break it down into little bite-sized steps. And it takes me maybe 20, 30 minutes to go through it. And universally, people are amazed about what they didn't know that is involved in the process. And they're very grateful that I took the time to explain to them.
Yeah. So I always tell my clients, listen, I know you probably sell your house it's either your first time buying or selling a home, or it's probably been 5-10 years since you've done it. And it's kind of like learning a new language. So I'm going to be saying words like due diligence and,
What's that?
Appraisal contingency, like things that you don't understand yet. And I do try to put out a roadmap for them. So you've created this sort of bite-sized, digestible flow chart. Is this presented on a laptop, or you print it out, or is it just a conversation?
Well, if we're in a Zoom session, I share my screen and we walk through it that way. If we're in my office, projected on the big wall TV. However it works to present it. I can do it with a hard copy if we're out in the field on the back of my car.
And when do you have this presentation? At what point in the process?
Oh, very, very early in the process. After our initial meeting or our initial conversation on the telephone, I say, okay, the very next thing I'd like to do is schedule some time where we can talk about what we're going to be doing to get you into the house or get you out of the house. And I'm going to present a process to you so that you understand all the steps. What's a good time maybe next week for you to spend 20, 30 minutes with me?
Oh, nice. And do you find yourself having to sort of loop back and review that process and say, hey, this is where we are today, or is it just sort of one-time thing, or do you keep referring back to this flow chart?
I do refer back to it because people can't retain everything. I send them a copy,
right,
of course, so they can study it at their leisure. But there is one summary page, and I say you might want to tear this page out, print this page out, put it up on your bathroom mirror, and
rehearse every morning.
So you know where you are.
And so I'm assuming the workflow is get a pre-qualification letter, narrow the fields, we're going to do an inspection. That's what I'm visualizing in my head.
Right, exactly. And then where can we get stuck in the loop?
Oh, yeah.
We can get stuck in the loop when we make the offer. And what do we have to do to get out of that loop? Well, we're going to change this, change that. Once we get into due diligence, we can get stuck in a loop with amendments. What do we do to get out of that? Once we get an appraisal that's low, we could get stuck in a loop. How do we get out of that?
So what are your recommendations for someone stuck in the loop where the offers just aren't sticking?
Where the
like losing bidding wars, or
Sure. I mean, sometimes there are bidding wars which require us to take on a little bit more risk, and especially in today's market. And I've got about 12 strategies for taking on different amounts of risk that will keep our offer on the table while multiple offers are being slid off the table onto the floor.
I love that.
The number one, I think number one is, what is it, all cash, quick close, no inspection.
Those are good ones. But what if you offer to pay a little bit of the seller's closing costs at closing? If it never closes, then no cash ever comes out of your pocket.
Good idea.
So the seller's closing costs.
Yeah.
What would be the seller's closing cost? Like the
They have
property
some.
taxes unpaid, water unpaid.
They have to pay off taxes. They have to pay off HOA fees. They have to pay stuff that gets prorated.
But not like mortgage payoffs or liens or anything like that.
Well, you don't have to specify what they're going to spend it on. You're just going to say an amount. I'm going to offer to pay you $2,000. However you want to use it at closing for your expenses.
Okay.
Go for it.
And then Jasmine, I'll flip that to you. Would a lender be okay with that phrase? And I assume this works for you, Rick. But
I haven't seen it before, so I'm assuming so.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I don't see why not. Usually there is restrictions on like going the other way around, right? Like there's a restriction how much you can get from the seller. But if you are giving money to the seller, I guess.
So it's not part of the purchase price. It doesn't show up on any sort of, has nothing to do with appraisal contingency or even credit down payment. This is an extra line. This is just basically, here's some pocket money to the seller. Is that right, Rick?
Right. And it's better than an option payment because in an option payment, when you write that check and you send it to the seller, it goes into their pocket and it stays there forever. But when you offer it as closing cost assistance for the seller, if you don't close, then that money never comes out of your pocket.
That's the first I've heard of this, and I really like that. That's really smart.
Listen, I didn't invent anything.
Yeah.
I just I copy from masterminds that are way smarter than I am.
Are you part of a mastermind group for real estate agents?
For real estate, no. I do spend an inordinate amount of time watching Seth Wiseman's videos. You probably know Seth Wiseman as one of the best-known closing attorneys in Atlanta, and he has a series of 3-minute videos that touch on lots of different topics. He also does CE classes, of course, but Seth teaches real estate law at a local university. He's a great teacher, and he has some great strategies.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess, this works if it's coming from a closing attorney and you've used it successfully and that's great.
They'll probably know what's up, I would say. Right. That's great. So tell us about some of your most creative deals that you have done since we're in the creative corner.
Let's see.
What are some fun things you have implemented?
Well, sometimes you get into problem closings around due diligence. And I had one this past year where the seller had a really nice condominium that had been renovated and looked perfectly fine, but the basement crawl space under the unit had a next door neighbor with leaky pipes. But once you get into that crawl space, you're not sure, looking up, where you are. Are you under the subject unit? Are you under the neighbor's unit? And so the buyer got all bent out of shape about leaks that appeared to be coming from perhaps the subject unit, or they could have been coming from the neighbor. So I hired an engineering company called ESOG, Engineered Solutions of Georgia. And they will send an engineer who charges a very moderate amount of money to go and look at the situation and write up a report. And they are going to take a lot more time than a typical home inspector would take to really discern what's the issue, what's the proper solution, and here are the facts. And I was able to argue with hard engineering facts and convince the buyer, hey, the water is not coming from the subject unit. It's actually coming from the upstairs neighbor who's renting out their property. And the renters don't pay any attention. Oh, yeah, the washing machine's dripping, but, we didn't ever think about it. Well, it made it all the way down through the first floor into that crawl space. And so we were able to stop one of the leak sources just like that.
Oh, nice. So, wait, you were representing the buyer or the seller in this deal?
I was representing the seller.
Oh, okay. So you're able to push back, get your own, get your own report. That's creative. Like I feel like I try to fight every deal to keep it alive, right? And that's what you did right there. A lot of agents might have said, hey, either put the pressure on the seller, hey, just pay for it, $500 or whatever, or really sort of dug in deep and possibly this deal collapses. But you sort of thought outside the box and say, hey, I know what your inspector's saying. Let us dig a little bit deeper, and got to a happy solution. So that's great.
Now you have to have a cooperative seller who's willing to invest, a couple $100 to bring in the big guns. But when you point out, hey, we can keep this deal from disappearing, they'll usually make the investment.
Right. That's great. And I know sometimes when you get those engineers involved, the price goes up dramatically. So you found a way to do the opposite.
Well, in this case, we got the price to come down. Another part of it was they looked up at the wood around the bathtub because they could see the bottom of the bathtub. And they said, oh, that wood is rotted and the bathtub's going to fall down and my retired father is going to fall into the crawl space and break his neck. This is this fantasy they had it in their mind. And we said, no, none of that is possible. We don't have to remove the tile in the shower, which is expensive. We don't have to replace the tub, which is expensive, et cetera, and replace the quote-unquote rotted drywood. Because we had an engineer get up, he poked it, he said, this is not rotted wood. And so we brought the exposure to the buyer way down to a level that they could live with.
Yeah, a lot of times it's my word versus your word. That's not my property. And obviously the buyer and the buyer's agent aren't necessarily going to trust what you say, Rick. But if you're like, hey, we paid for this third-party report who's neutral, they're just trying to solve the problem, and then we can all agree on facts, right? And it's much easier. There's no emotion involved. No one's playing games. It's, hey, this is a report that was issued to look into the situation.
Exactly.
I think one of the pieces of advice that I got from my first broker that I worked for, like I would get a deal in and I would just kind of freeze up because I was like, they're asking me all these questions and I don't know the answer and what am I going to do? And he would always just tell me, just get more information. You don't have to make a decision right now. Just get more information, right? And so I think a lot of times, especially when you're new in real estate and you just haven't seen this particular thing happen before, you sort of freeze up and you're like, oh my God, there is a leak. It's going to be $80,000 to fix. And you just kind of freeze up. But just knowing that you just need to get more information, just get a little bit more information, take it one step further, and then you can make a really good decision for your client by knowing having all the data.
Yeah, get the facts.
I'm curious, Rick, did you pay for this report or did you have the seller pay for this report?
No, the seller paid for it.
Nice. Yeah. So what was that conversation with the seller to get them to pay for that report?
It was pretty easy. I said, Mr. Seller, this buyer is hysterical, and we need the facts, and you need the facts to know how to save this deal or any future deal. If the wood is rotten and the bathtub is going to fall into the crawl space with Dad in it, then you're going to have to take care of that if you're going to sell this house to anybody.
Everybody. I think that's key, right? To anybody.
Right. But I kind of think that this inspector really inflated the issue at hand, and I think we can prove that, and I think it's going to take a small investment on your part. And he said, okay, I'll do it.
Nice. No, yeah, that's always important, because it's when you have a listing and there's something comes up in the inspection report, it's really identifying, hey, this is going to come up on the next inspection report and the next one and the next one. Do we want to get ahead of it? Do we want to dig deeper? Do we want to fix it? Do we want to get a third-party report to say it's not even our issue? And I think that's a great way to keep deals alive. And even if it doesn't, that one particular deal, it should greatly benefit the next deal next time it goes under contract.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I like that. So I want to go back to the fact that you said you have a database of 20,000 people. Tell me a little bit about that. That is an extremely large number of contacts. So is it just because you've been in business forever, or?
It's because I've had a CRM system forever.
Forever.
Now, the nature of databases is they get stale. So if I were to if I were to make 20,000 phone calls, I'd probably find out that 50% of them have changed their phone number. If I were...
That's a very good thinking, yeah.
If I were to get somebody who did answer the phone, I might find out that 5% of them are no longer on this planet. Right? If I were to send a mass email blast to all 20,000, I might find out that, wow, 60% of them, that's a dead email address. But this spans the world, right? What I'm really interested in are prospects in Georgia. So when we narrow down to that, with those filters, then I've got about 4,000 people. Right? And again, if I were to call all of those, maybe only 2,000 of them still have a good phone number. Maybe only 1,000 of them still have a good email address.
So, Rick, so you got this 4,000. How often should you reach out? Would you recommend new agents reach out to their clients?
Oh, I would recommend you reach out to your prospects and your customers at least quarterly. I know a lot of agents reach out on every 3-day holiday with a reminder. Some agents will send out a monthly newsletter. Monthly may be a little bit too often. I think you just have to look at your customer database to understand how many people are going to get ticked off if they're getting too many emails from Rick Hamilton or Alan Corey.
Right. Well, you mentioned the 3-day holiday. This is one of my pet peeves. It's somehow I get put into other real estate agents' databases and CRM systems, and so I'll get 20 different realtor things every 4th of July, and all it is, it's like an American flag, and it says Happy 4th of July, and I just think to myself, like, you've made me angry, like, because now I have a task. I've got to now. First, I got excited. I got an email. I got a notification on my phone. I pull it up, and it's from realtor, and it's providing me no value, and I just delete it. And it's like, that did not make me sure. It reminded me that you're a realtor, but it didn't remind me that you're a realtor that provides value to me. You inconvenienced me. Like send me something that says Happy 4th of July. Here are the parades, at least, this weekend, or, hey, it's Happy 4th of July. The market's doing this, in June, I don't know what you do, Rick. I'm not on yours, but, throwing that out to the other agents, provide value, make it something that someone wants to read, they're excited to read, and not just another picture of American flag that you got to delete, which is of the 20 that I get every year, 18.
Maybe you tell them a little 4th of July joke.
Yeah, there you go.
Make sure when you light that firecracker, let go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, at least that took some effort, and it wasn't just some, GIF waving.
Well, I worry a lot about, I send out one of those, spring forward and, fallback emails religiously to everybody for the last 20 years. I'm just worried about my clients not changing their clocks without me.
That's providing value. That's providing value. That is, yeah.
I only get 30 33 of those.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
See,
right.
see. There's not that many of us that are committed to this one. Fall back, everyone.
Now, what you might do is send out an email about falling back, and then say, here are the benefits of daylight savings time. Here are the challenges of daylight savings time.
And take a little poll.
Right. Yeah. And this is how you can fight against even having daylight savings time anymore.
Here's sign a petition here.
Exactly.
I love it.
So,
that's great.
Rick, we love asking this question for our long-time real estate agents. You've seen a lot of change in the last 40 years. Is business better now the way things are done? Is it worse? Is it just the same but different? Really curious to see, because there's always threats to the industry in terms of technology and advances. The ease or the difficulty to getting a license, all that sort of debate about how it is now and how it used to be. And I'm curious your viewpoint on some of the big topics there.
Well, I mean, we could talk about the printed MLS listing books, but that's dinosaur talk. So let's fast forward 20 years. Certainly, the maturation of MLS software has helped us greatly, and even better than that, I think, has been the growth of e-signature systems like .loop and DocuSign and so forth. I happen to be currently using .loop. I've used it for 5-7 years now, and it saves me so much time because I can create templates for buyers, templates for sellers, templates for landlords. And so when I get a new prospect from one of those groups, I just go grab the template. It's pre-filled with my data because that never changes. And I just type in the variable information that has changed. What's the address of the property we're buying or selling? And any special stipulations that I'd like to use, those are pulled forward out of the template. So it makes putting a deal together so much more quick. And especially the special stipulations, you tend to forget about the ones that you liked. When the GAR forms change from year to year and you're using a fresh new set of GAR forms, you may just forget about all those great stipulations. The COVID stip is a great one. I think until we get another year or two down the road, it could rear its ugly head and delay closings. And so I think it's very important to keep the COVID stip in our purchase and sale agreements.
Right. And for those listening, GAR form is the Georgia Association of Realtors. They're the default form that they I guess it's a requirement for us to use, but they come with their own stipulations. And at least here in Georgia, there's a few built into our MLS e-signing programs, but I've heard great things about .loop. I've used it on and off over the years as well. So definitely in any sort of e-signature program is going to change an agent's life. If you're driving around printing out documents, trying to get wet signatures,
faxing documents.
You need to change up quick your habits there for sure. But yeah.
And just by the way, we referred a little earlier to that closing lawyer who produces the videos. He also has an online list of special stipulations that are available to us. We don't have to reinvent the wheel.
His name is what?
Seth Wiseman.
Seth Wiseman, and anyone can access that on his website?
I believe so.
Okay, and I believe it's WEISSMAN, Wiseman, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, Rick, what do you see sort of as sort of trends moving forward that you're working on? Are you changing up your business moving forward? We just talked about how what you've changed in the past, but do you see anything that?
Yeah, for me personally, I have been using a vendor to post on my Facebook and cross-post to other social media channels, and they were very expensive, and I am in the process of finding another way, and the best way to take care of all that social media work and monthly emails. I know that as a busy realtor, we agents just don't have the time to do that right, because if you're doing it really, really well, you don't have time to do real estate.
Right.
So I think if you're serious about doing real estate, you need to find someone or some company that can handle that task for us, and that I'm looking for that company right now.
Yeah. So I'd love to. I mean, I think I'm 43, and social media is not something that's come natural to me. I have a very poor, admittedly, social media presence. But Jasmine can attest, like probably majority of our agents who are younger than me, their number one lead source is social media, and I feel like I'm dropping the ball. I'm not on that, and so you hired a third-party vendor that you said was too expensive. Do you mind sharing what sort of price range that?
They were charging about $300 a month.
Okay, that's sort of yeah. I've looked into price. You know, I'm usually getting quotes between $300 and $500 a month.
Right. And I just felt that for that translates to $4,000 a year, and I wasn't getting the kind of lead flow that I would have expected for that sort of investment. Okay,
yeah, and what I typically see from these sort of third-party vendors, when I've looked into them a bit, I haven't hired one yet, but they'll post either once or twice a week, or you create some sort of calendar schedule, and some of them have their own in-house graphic designs, or they'll just have national real estate trends, and they'll post pretty graphs and things on your behalf. Is that sort of the same services that you're looking for or have used?
Well, my contractor also sent a photographer one day, and we did a 1-2 hour photo session.
Yep.
And I interviewed people in the office on camera, interviewed in quotes. And so we have all this library of shots with me and other people, but they get posted repeatedly. And if anybody's following my Facebook post repeatedly, they will say, that's the same picture we saw a year ago.
Yeah.
I know. I feel that way. There is some people online. I'm like, dude, you've been like using, that was one photo shoot 2 years ago. You're still wearing the same jacket. It's still the fall weather behind you in every single shot. I think it's time for another shot.
I think one thing that's would be helpful to me is some accountability. I would like my social media people to say, okay, Rick, next Friday we need a 500-word newsletter from you about anything.
Right.
You went on vacation, you closed a deal. We don't care what it is. We want 500 words from you. And 3 days before it's due, I want a phone call. Rick, have you started your newsletter yet?
Right.
And some accountability, or a nag system, if you will, to get me to focus 30 minutes and write something that they can then post on lots of different social media places.
I love that idea, and if there's any entrepreneurs listening out there, here's your business. I put in my calendar, every month, time to write a newsletter. But I'll tell you, if I'm super busy that day, I know it's in my calendar. I've blocked out 2 hours, but that's the first thing to get bumped when I'm running around trying to close deals and show homes. Yeah.
I have so many things in my calendar that I should do.
Right.
I have my clients' birthdays. I have my clients' anniversaries of their closing dates. But those are the things that get bumped when you get busy.
I had this idea. We could take those 12 shots that your photographer had of you, Rick, and then now you got a calendar layout for your clients.
Oh, no.
It would make a great fresh calendar.
They might use it as kindling in the fireplace, I'm afraid.
I love it. So now, while speaking of calendar, I want to, you have been a real estate agent for a really long time. And so I feel like you have to have some tricks and tips for living a balanced life where this business is like all consuming. It could be 24/7 if you let it. So talk to us a little bit about like, how do you schedule your time? Some of your like habits and hacks and things that you do on a daily basis just to keep you from literally like losing your mind in this business.
Yeah. Some people would argue as to how successful I have been at not losing my mind. But what I do is to get up early, by some people's standards. I scan the inbox before I go downstairs to breakfast because, we all work from home. And I make sure that there's not any emergencies or something that I had forgotten about. And I look at my calendar again in the morning to make sure I don't have any appointments that I've forgotten about. Then I go to breakfast. I have a regular breakfast every day. I read the paper. I read a copy of the newspaper from front to back. And the editor-in-chief of the newspaper happens to be my client, I'm proud to say. And so I feel like I'm up on what's going on in this market. Now, it's a lot of stuff that's not real estate related, but when you're talking to people, to clients, a lot of the times you want to talk about life. You don't want to be talking about the house that we're buying or the house that we're selling. You need to have a general education about what's going on. So I'll get through the day. I use Microsoft Outlook online for my mail, so I have it on my PC. I have it on my iPhone. They synchronize seamlessly. So wherever I am, I can always look at those to guide me through my schedule through the day. When it gets to be around 6 o'clock, I go back and I look at that calendar for tomorrow to say, okay, what do I have to make sure I'm ready to do tomorrow? Because if tomorrow comes and you've forgotten about something, it's a lot of times too late to make those appointments, set up those showings, and so forth. And then 7 o'clock comes, and if I'm not downstairs having dinner with my partner, my life is out of sync, and I know that. So
So that's when you kind of turn everything off by 7.
Right.
You're done. Yeah. No more emergency phone calls. None of that.
Well, if the phone rings, I will look at who's calling, and if it's a number I've never seen, I'm not going to answer. If it's a name I've never seen, I'm not going to answer. I do have a spam blocker on my Verizon telephone, which blocks probably 10 calls a day. If you guys don't have that on your telephones, you've got to get that. But I try to turn that off a little bit.
I've got a New York number, but I work in Atlanta, so whenever I see a call that's from a New York number, I have to answer every call. I can't just let a call go to my voicemail. That's just not my nature. I have to answer. But whenever it's a New York number, they've spoofed. It's always a spam number. But I want to end on one last thing. Parlez-vous François?
Je parle un peu de français. J'ai 3 années de français dans l'école secondaire.
So I don't speak French, but I saw that you do. Have you ever had a French client? Has that worked real estate-wise?
I have, and they always giggle a little bit when you start talking French to them because you don't have the inflections and the pronunciations and this, that, and the other thing. And 99.999% of the French people who come to this country looking for a house probably speak English with better grammar than I do.
Okay.
But I find that by relating that to them with a little bit of French, at the beginning of the relationship, it warms it up and it separates you from everybody else.
Right.
I dated somebody who was Chinese, so I can say ni hao and shusha and you should see the big smiles on the faces of Chinese people,
right,
because I've taken the time to remember those very small phrases, and it just ingratiates you to these folks.
Yeah, I
agree.
The more you can connect with your clients outside of real estate, I think the better, for sure. Yeah. And language is so ingrained. It's such a you grow up speaking a language. If you're bringing me back to my home, childhood or whatever, speaking my language, I'll fall in love with you as a real estate agent for sure.
What languages did you guys learn in high school?
Jasmine is the language person on this podcast.
I've got a couple of them. So I'm Serbian, so obviously Serbo-Croatian is my home language, and Swedish. The interesting thing about Swedish is that all the Scandinavian languages are very similar, so you can really get by in Denmark or in Norway or in Sweden. It's all the same. And then my grandfather and grandmother are German, so hypothetically, I can probably get by in Germany. I'm not very good at German, but I can understand it. And then, of course, I've got English. So those are mine.
I usually can just speak the different beers in every single country, so I know how to order in restaurants.
I love it.
Let's see. Heineken.
Yeah, right. Sapporo. I got a few of those. Well, Rick, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been wonderful. What if we have agents listening who maybe want to pick your brain, learn a little bit more about your workflow, any sort of outsourcing social media that you end up finding that really kind of blows your social media profiles up? What would be a good way for them to reach out to you, or if you want to shout out your social media channels as well?
Well, my website is hamiltonfinehomes.com, and all my contact information is there. Feel free to jump on and call me, email me.
Great.
Text me.
Great. Well, this has been a pleasure to learn how to sustain a 40-year career real estate agent. You fought off all the new technological advances for the past 4 decades. So keep at it. You're doing a great job. And now you're learning the new technologies of social media. You're not giving up. So it's that sort of grit and hustle that it takes to be successful as an agent. So thanks for being sort of a leader in that field.
Well, guys, thank you so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. It was fun.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Agent Upgrade Podcast. If you are an agent looking for a new mortgage lender, start with Jasmine at jasmineteam.com. If you want to learn about real estate investing and working with investors, check in with Alan at thehouseofac.com. See you next time on Agent Upgrade.